I'd like to tell you something I've learned about frogs. If you put a frog in a boiling pot of water, it'll jump out. However, if you put a frog in a lukewarm pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, you'll be able to cook him. How can this be? A frog can notice sudden changes like boiling water, but does not detect small incremental changes. When the frog does, it's too late. This is the story of Solomon, the main character of chapter 13 of the story. He started off as a strong frog, but he got himself in a lukewarm pot of water that slowly got hotter and eventually cooked him. He started off strong, but finished poorly. Let me tell you of his tale. Chapter 13 opens up with King David at his end. He maintains his promise to make the son of Bathsheba the next king. Solomon had everything going for him. His dad is passing the leadership to him in great shape. They are financially successful and strong. King David even gave him the secrets of continued success. And Solomon starts off super strong. In this chapter, God comes to Solomon and tells him to ask for anything he wants. Solomon asks for wisdom to be able to carry out his duties, to properly govern the people, to discern right from wrong. Wow. How tempting not to ask for wealth or power or long life or a really cool car. God is pleased with Solomon's response, answers his request, and gives him wealth, honor, and power to boot. Solomon demonstrates this wisdom right off the bat. There are two ladies who have a dispute about a newborn baby. Both are claiming to be the mother. Solomon tells his men to cut the baby in two and give each mother a half. The first woman thought this was a reasonable solution. The second woman asked for the baby to be given to the first unharmed. Showing wisdom, Solomon gave the baby to the second woman. Now, I tried this with my boys when they were younger, fighting over Hot Wheel cars. It didn't work so well. They wanted to see me saw it in two. Solomon wrote his wisdom down for all of us to read. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon are filled with a sampling of lukewarm pots of water we should avoid. For example, here's one. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. In just his 4th year as king, he starts to build the temple for God's presence to rest. When the temple is complete, God comes to Solomon and tells him that if you continue to follow me, you will finish strong, and you will pass the kingdom to your son in the same great shape your father did for you. However, if you don't follow me, you'll get cooked, and it will cause a spiral in the nation, and the throne will be taken from your family. Solomon's popularity is growing. He is a rock star. People come from everywhere to see him and sit at his feet. But then we come to the end of Solomon's life and his 40-year reign, and we see he got cooked. All kinds of trouble and adversaries emerge. It ends up destroying the nation. He started strong, but finished poorly. What happened? Solomon jumped into one of those proverbial pots of lukewarm water he wrote about. Which one? Let me read it to you. King Solomon, however, loved many wives besides Pharaoh's daughter, Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods." Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. He had 700 wives of royal birth and 300 concubines, and his wives led him astray. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites. So Solomon did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not follow the Lord completely, as David his father had done. Solomon knew this was a bad idea. He wrote about it. God told him straight up, but Solomon jumped in anyway. He might have thought he was strong enough to handle it. His passion may have simply been greater than his love for wisdom. He jumps in the pot and everything seems to be working just fine. But as Solomon grew older, as time passed, the pot began to simmer and Solomon's strength weakened. he starts worshiping other gods. And that's the boiling point. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to end up cooked in a boiling pot. Do you? Yet none of us wakes up and says, I'd like to get boiled to death. I'd like to wreck and ruin my life and the lives of others. It doesn't happen overnight. We jump in a pot of lukewarm water and we fail to see that the devil is turning up the flame underneath. But it happens to the best of us. If Solomon was the wisest guy to ever live and he jumped in, what makes us think we are too smart to do such a thing? Now, if you're a Christian, you need to realize that God has a call in our life, a purpose. Just like the Israelites and Solomon were called to point people to Christ by the way they lived, so we are a part of the church and are also called to point people to Christ by our lives. God has put people into our lives, our family, people we work with, people we go to school with, people we live around. How we live our lives in Christ before them will give witness that Jesus is not dead, but alive, resurrected. In other words, how we live our lives matter. Our prayer needs to be that we'll not only start strong, but finish strong. The truth is, many hearing these words have already been cooked in a pot of some sort. It may be what drew you to the study of the story in the first place. You're looking for help and you're looking for mercy. Listen to this. Even though this didn't stop the avalanche of consequences at the end of Solomon's life, or even after, he realizes what he has done and turns back to God. We see this at the conclusion of his great book, the book of Ecclesiastes. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of every human being. It is never too late to come back to God. He will receive you with open arms.